When we are on the ground, the steering wheel doesn't seem to make the airplane turn.
That is not a steering wheel. In an airplane, that is called a yoke, but you are correct that it isn't what makes the airplane turn while we are taxiing.
Other lessons covered how to control an airplane in the air. This lesson covers how to control an airplane when you're moving on the ground. These lessons together set the stage for lessons on takeoffs and landings, which are all about transitions between these two regimes. This lesson covers ground handling for airplanes with tricycle landing gear, which is the most common type used for primary training. A different lesson will cover tailwheel landing gear. Two main wheels are located behind the airplane's center of gravity. The nose wheel is approximately the same size as the main wheels. The orientation of the airplane on the ground is approximately the same as cruise attitude. The nose wheel is located very far forward on the airplane, in front of all of the main structure of the fuselage. Therefore, nose wheels tend to be relatively fragile. Some nose wheels are steerable using the rudder pedals. When the nose wheel is steerable, that's the primary way of controlling your direction on the ground. Other nose wheels, like the one pictured here, are free castering, so the pilot doesn't directly control the orientation of the nose wheel. It just sort of goes whichever direction it's being pushed. Most airplanes have separate left and right brakes on the main wheels. There are some exceptions, especially among light sport aircraft. These separate brakes are usually controlled by toe pedals attached to the rudder pedals. So you bend at the ankle when you want to apply the brakes. In some older airplanes, the brakes are actually actuated with a separate pedal that you hit with your heel. With a free castering nose wheel, differential braking, or pushing on one brake only, is the primary way of controlling your direction. Even when you have a steerable nose wheel, differential braking may allow you to make sharper turns than what you can make just by steering the nose wheel. Since airplanes are not very maneuverable on the ground, you need to taxi slowly. The throttle is your primary way of controlling your speed. Sometimes you need to use quite a bit of power to get the airplane started rolling, especially if you're on grass, and then less power is needed to keep it moving. Of course, you use the wheel brakes as necessary to slow down, but you want to avoid situations where you have the throttle too high and are constantly using brakes. In the air, you use the ailerons and the elevator to control your roll attitude and your pitch attitude. When you're on the ground, your roll attitude and pitch attitude are determined by the slope of the ground that you're sitting on, and that's usually pretty close to level. That doesn't mean that you can just ignore the ailerons and the elevator, however. The wind will tend to lift the upwind wing of the aircraft on the ground. A strong enough wind can actually blow a taxiing airplane over.
Oh no. Oh no. No, 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 no.
To avoid that, you need to use the ailerons to prevent the wind from lifting the upwind wing, and use the elevator to prevent the wind from lifting the tail. To accomplish that, whenever the wind is striking the front of your wings, you'll turn the yoke toward the wind as if you were trying to bank into the wind. That will raise the aileron on the upwind wing and hold it down. You'll pull back on the yoke so the elevator holds the tail down. Remember the phrase, climb into a headwind. When the wind is striking the wing and the tail from behind, then you need to move the control surfaces the opposite way. Remember the phrase, dive away from a tailwind. Whenever you turn while you're taxiing, you'll often need to change the position of the yoke as you turn.
I guess an airplane is not in its natural habitat when it is on the ground, but it is more maneuverable on the ground than my car would be in the air.
Now that you understand how to control the airplane on the ground and how to control the airplane in flight, we are ready to start learning takeoffs and landings, which are transitions between these two regimes.